Sydney says, "Hi, Austin and Robert. I love your podcast. I've learned so much from listening. My husband and I are in our early 20s and we're trying to get into real estate. We really want to work for ourselves and work on getting away from the W-2s. We've looked at fix and flips, rental properties, Airbnb arbitrage, but we don't know what is best to start with. We're about to come into a 6-month period of time that we'll be living with our family, so we will be paying very little on a monthly basis when it comes to bills. What would you recommend for us as we're looking into starting this journey? Is there any advice that you would give us? More specifically, anything you would encourage us not to do? Thank you so much." Robert, I'll kick this one off.
Well, you've heard us say it many, many times, everyone listening. And Sid, if you haven't and you're new to this channel, we would say don't get into real estate just yet. You didn't allude to the fact that if the two of you have your base built, for us, we never want to see anyone save up that first $5, $10, $15, $20,000 and plunk it all into a piece of real estate right out of the gate. Because if you're wrong or you lose money or it just doesn't perform well, or let's say the renovation costs are dramatically higher because you're new to the game, we don't want to see you go back to zero. So in my opinion, in this situation, I would get that base built to $100,000 and above, making you money while you sleep, and keep learning about real estate. Keep reading about it. Go out, buy books, watch podcasts, watch our podcast about real estate. Join the Rich Habits Network so you're always learning, because as you build more and more of your net worth, then you can start to diversify into real estate. Now, if you're not going to listen to that, the only thing I would say you do for you and your husband would be to look at house hacking. If you're going to buy the first property and not wait, I would go look for a 2, 3, or a 4-plex because it's still residential. You can get a Fannie Mae 5% down mortgage, which is the cheapest way to get you started. You can live in one unit, rent the others, and then you could self-manage the property to be able to keep your bills low and build some wealth and some equity in the property. But I would say put that off for another couple of years before you do it, but keep learning, I think, is the key.
That's exactly what I was going to encourage Sydney to do with her husband here is, I understand that you want to get into rentals and fix and flips and Airbnb arbitrage and all the sexy things that, are like, oh yeah, I'll retire early and get into real estate and you're going to be a billionaire. That could absolutely be in your future. And we are not saying it is not, but we think that the easiest way to start is by house hacking. So think about it like this. Let's say you and your husband, you're living at home for the next 6 months. You can save $5,000 a month. That is $30,000. And with that $30,000, you can use that to buy a 5% down duplex or triplex or something. So a $600,000 multifamily unit. And you have the other two, let's say it's a triplex. You now have 3 units. You guys live in 1 unit. You rent out the other 2. And now the cash flow entirely pays for that monthly mortgage. So now you guys are essentially living for free. You're taking that, what would have been a $1,800 to $2,500 a month housing payment. You're now squirreling that away maybe for your next property, or you're using it to invest even more or whatever is going on. But now you just opened up, let's call it $18,000, $24,000, $30,000 a year of extra money in your monthly budget because you're living for free doing this house hacking. And then fast forward now 5 years, you guys want to actually go get a single family home, have some children, move in the right direction as a family here. And now you've got 3 units that you can rent out with this multifamily. That's how people get into this without going under too much risk, too much debt, too much uncertainty. Yes, you could absolutely do some fix and flips. Maybe your husband is very awesome with his hands and he's very handy and he has a team of people that can help him. Like, do that. Robert's great at that as well. Airbnb arbitrage, I think that's just hokey pokey. I don't think that works very well. I think that's too much risk. I wouldn't worry about that one. But if you want to get started, yeah, do the house hacking stuff. Duplex, triplex. Again, $30,000 can help you buy a $500,000, $600,000 multifamily, and then you can begin to run some numbers and figure out how much you have to rent the other units for, what's the market price, how does it all come together here. And it's a wonderful way to start to get into real estate without getting overwhelmed.
Yeah, I think the biggest mistake most people make is they think that they have a little bit of money and they can start with a fix and flip. And that's okay as long as you have some insight or you have somebody that you know, maybe an uncle is a contractor, maybe you have a friend that's been doing it for 10 years that's going to help you along the way. But if you're going at this with no prior knowledge, no experience, with your only money, I think it's a big mistake. And here's what I see a lot with people is they'll save up $25,000. They'll try real estate. They'll lose money. They'll get out of it okay because they still have an asset. Then they'll have a couple bad years where they're saving again, saving again, saving again. Then they go invest in Uncle Billy's restaurant. That doesn't work out. Then they start over again. That is why we want you to always build your base. If you have your base, knowing that you're never going to go broke, that money is making money while you're asleep, then as you diversify, at least we know you're safe. That is why we never want to see people robbing from their future to invest in the now. We always want to see that base that's set aside that you don't touch, because investments don't always go as planned. And we want to make sure everyone is going in the right direction so they can live a financially free life, not just in retirement, but as soon as possible. So I hope this helps everyone listening. And I think it's a great breakdown, and just keep going. But I hope you take this advice and really consider it when thinking about getting into real estate right out of the gate.